So like I say in the documentary, the reason I got started and how I got started urban exploring is actually a story in itself because of my life experiences and everything that I went through. I was a heroin addict, right? And when I was a heroin addict, I was homeless and in the streets of Detroit, and I was shooting heroin. And I was hanging out with a rough crowd at that time, obviously, and doing all sorts of hustling and things. So I was hanging out with this older man we called him OG. You know, he was an OG.
OG.
And he was a heroin addict like me, and him and I would hang out a lot, squat together because we were both homeless on the streets.
Yep.
And he took me into this building that to shoot dope and to kind of squat and get out of the elements, because it was, I believe it was getting cold out. It was either fall or spring, but it was getting cold. So we went into the building, get out of the elements, and to shoot dope. And that's when this OG told me, this used to be a concert venue. And I said, this basement? He said, no. He said, it's upstairs somewhere. And he said, I hadn't been there since it was open. And I said, well, do you think we could go find it or whatever? And he, eventually we went upstairs, and there was a stage and the architectural details. And then he had told me, I think I read about it actually. I read about it online after that. Because I don't think I was getting vague information,
Yeah.
It was like some famous musicians, but I think he misquoted and said like Jimi Hendrix played there, even though I don't think Jimi Hendrix played there.
Really? He didn't know.
Yeah, he was trying to make shit up.
Yeah.
But I ended up researching it, and that's how I found out it was the Grandy Ballroom. And indeed, these musicians had played there, such as Janis Joplin and The Who and Led Zeppelin and Ted Nugent and the MC5.
Wow.
I mean, just incredible, Eric Clapton. I mean, just amazing musicians that played at this venue. So I was like just floored by this, right? Because I'm a rock and roll fan. I mean, from Detroit, we are Detroit Rock City and all that. So we have a lot of history here with rock and roll and Motown. So growing up here, it was lots of music influence. So I thought that was just super fascinating. So I started to like research it, and look stuff up about it. And then that was, I can even tell you right off rip, that was probably 2005 or 6. Didn't even think much about it. I got clean shortly after that.
Wow.
And then what happened was my mom had just given me this cheap point. Actually, it wasn't really that cheap. It was a nice point and shoot, but it wasn't like a SLR or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I was in Detroit, and I was taking photos of like just signs and street stuff and just messing around with it.
Is this film at the time, or is it a digital?
No, it was digital.
Okay. Didn't know for sure.
Yep, it was digital. And it was just one of the ones where you could like take the camera, plug it into your printer, and print pictures.
Oh yeah. You push the button and the lens comes out. Is it one of those?
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. I totally know what you're talking about. Yeah, way back in the day. Yep.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to take some photos with this camera, and I wasn't really even into photo. I mean, the only photos of me from that time was my mug shots.
Oh yeah.
So like literally, I didn't want to be on camera, and I didn't really think to take pictures. It just happened that she had given me this because she got a new one and was like, I don't need it anymore.
How old are you at this point?
I would have been 24 or 25. I got clean when I was 24. So I think it was the year I got clean, or the year after I got clean.
Gotcha.
So I might have been 25.
I didn't know if you were still in like college, or if you were young, or if you were, a lot of people get into urbex now at a young age. But when you were doing it, was it sort of everyone was getting into it kind of older, or they were kind of an older crowd?
Yeah, definitely. When I started doing this, I would have been 25 then, and most of the people that were doing it were actually older than me.
In their 30s or so.
Exactly. Yep.
So you find you're at this place with this guy, and is it something where you almost felt the energy of what used to go on there? You know what I mean?
At the time, not so much when I was with him, because that first time anyways, we actually went back twice, 2 or 3, even 3 times.
Mm.
Because that first day that he told me what it was, I don't think we went upstairs that time. I think it was actually the next time that we went upstairs.
Oh.
And that because we were squatting in the basement of this place. So when I wanted to see it, and I kind of, like I said, I was skeptical and I didn't believe it. So he was like, well, let me show you the state. So that's when we went upstairs, and that's when I ended up doing the research and finding it. And then when my mom gave me the camera, I drove by it and I saw that it was open, and I said, I need to go in there and I need to. It wasn't even about me filming the Grandy Ballroom or documenting the Grandy Ballroom. It was about me documenting my story as a heroin addict.
Mm.
That, just to show people this is where I used to squat.
Yeah.
But when I got in there, I did feel this energy, and I felt like I could see the dance floor and the stage, and I could picture like the music and the musicians and stuff. And like, then while I was in there, it's like I was remembering the articles that I had read about. And I had actually watched a documentary about the Grandy Ballroom. It's an incredible documentary. And some of the documentary and our documentary has clips from that documentary.
Yeah. I was wondering where you guys are getting a lot of the older footage. That's awesome.
Yep, that's from that Grandy Ballroom documentary.
Wow.
I can't remember the name of it, but it's a great documentary. So I went in there, and that's when I started it changed. So instead of me shooting like this basement where I was shooting heroin and squatting, I started shooting the architectural details of the theater or the ballroom. There was like stone owls, and there was amazing hand painted details. There were chandeliers in there at that time. The way it looked nothing like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually intact back then. So it was an incredible experience, and that's actually why I say that was my first urban exploration at that time, because of course I didn't know that's what I was doing then, but yeah, that's what I did. I documented the place, I took photos, and was really happy with the way it turned out. And when I went to research more about the Grandy Ballroom, I discovered Detroit Funk. There was a blog. He's still around, but he doesn't explore anymore. He wasn't really an explorer. He was more of I guess a journalist. He would drive around the city, take photos of different areas, different neighborhoods, different buildings. And when he did the Grandy Ballroom, so I found the article of the Grandy Ballroom, and then it took me to the post that he had that day or whatever, which was the rape of Jane Cooper. And that is the school on Detroit's east side that was on Van Dyke in Georgia. And that school had been ravaged by the scrappers and the vandals and the homeless and the curious and all that. So when I read that, I said, well, I want to take that camera, and I actually want to go photograph Jane Cooper after I did the Grandy. So I went over to Jane Cooper, and I photographed Jane Cooper, and then I went back to his blog, and I found Joy Middle School and Brewer, and that's how it all started taking place.